Welcome, everybody, to 8192 The Truth. This is Joel D. Supernaw. And what's going on, man? So, Chael. So Chael turned me on to that song last week. That's Montgomery Gentry and King of the World. And as soon as a couple weeks ago, actually, I think that was when we did the NCAA pod. I don't know what we did. But listen to that song. If you like country music, even a little bit, go ahead and play that one. It's Montgomery Gentry, King of the World. It's a cool song. I had the opportunity to podcast with Chael yesterday, and one of the there's a couple reasons this has been a slow week, a couple slow weeks. Kevin had mentioned that he's moving and what a nightmare that is. I'm struggling, man. I'm struggling in a lot of different areas, and I'm also really, really kind of enjoying myself in this. I have the life that I've been wanting for the last 8 years, aside from, Bed and Miss H. I'm here every day with her. I'm with Lad all the time. It's been really great. So I kind of need to pick up the pace a little bit. I get a lot of messages from people, telling me they, whatever I was talking about, they like that. And it's people that I look up to. I got a message from Otto Olsen the other day, and I really appreciated that because, I look up to Otto. But anyway, so I go down and do Your Welcome podcast yesterday with Chael. The podcast itself was okay at best. Chael and I's interaction with each other, that we've got a really good chemistry. The best chemistry is when we're driving down there and neither one of us are jerking around on our phones and we're just hooting it up. Something happens when you produce. Something happens when you normally push play. You're trying now. You're the whole theory, I believe, around podcasting is it's a very organic. It's a very organic thing. It's just somebody talking about something. It's not really that commercialized. Well, then it's become commercialized because now you can make a lot of money doing this. I tell you, I hardly ever watch TV anymore. And I'm starting to realize the magnitude of podcasting. But, I want to get back to my point. So we did a fair show, I believe, yesterday. I mean, people, when Chael and I are only getting together every 6 weeks or so, people are going to like that more than if we're there every day together. It just happens. We didn't have much to talk about, kind of just winged it. There wasn't any real hot topics to talk about. But the bigger part of our conversations that happened afterwards, and I've been, throughout this show, both Kevin and I have talked about, man, disengage, shut that phone off, get back in your life. And I'd been working on things just in my head, just in my head, because when you're podcasting 3 or 4 days a week, you try to come up with talking points, you try to write them down, and hopefully you can tell a story and create something semi-entertaining or something worth listening to. But yesterday in our conversations, we were just two bros talking, and I said, what these phones have done to us. What Facebook has done to us, what texting has done to us, is we have cut off the human element of personal relationships. And let me explain what that means. I've been back here 8 weeks, coming up on 8 weeks, and I think I've seen Chael 4 times. And if it's more than that, it's 5. Now, is that part of our relationship isn't where it was at before? No, not really, because that's pretty much the history. The history of our relationship is I haven't lived, for the most part, I haven't lived more than a half mile away from the guy for the better part of, 15 years, 10 anyway. But because we talk on the phone, because we text, that suffices for actual human interaction. Same thing with Randy. I don't see Randy a lot. A year will go by without seeing Randy, but I talk to him quite a bit. It's via text. And it isn't until I get together with him that I realize, man, this is my bro, and I should spend more time with him. But because of what we have done as a community, as a world, we have allowed these phones to dictate our lives. I was telling Chael yesterday that, man, I haven't been important forever. Okay. If I shut my phone off, just shut my phone off and pick it up every 2 or 3 hours, look and see what I miss a call? Do I need to get back to somebody? I would have more time. My life has become this phone, and I'm not the only one. And we're creating such bad examples for our kids. I dropped Lad off at school. Hold on, I'm going to sneeze. Oh God, don't you hate it when you have a sneeze and it won't come out? Like it's right there and it won't come out. That just happened. That was real time. Hold on a second. All right. Wow. All right. So I'm taking Lad to school, and I notice all of these kids walking into class with their phones. Guys, just look back on it was just a minute ago. It was just 10 years ago that the guy talking on his phone all the time was look at that guy talking on his cell phone. He thinks he's cool. So what we've done with that is we've just gotten rid of that. You hardly ever hear somebody actually talking on the phone now. Everybody is just constantly nonstop texting. And it is a big problem. It's a huge problem. It's a huge problem for me, and it's a huge problem for you. And if we don't realize this, we're losing something. And you know what we're losing? We're losing time. We're losing time. Because I tell you what, years ago, about 20 years ago, they did a study out in Oregon on video poker. Video poker was around. I don't know how long it's been around, but they did a study on it, and they said the reason that people play video poker is the brain is wired when you're going from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing, is it puts your brain in a relaxing state, like similar to sleep. And I knew all sorts of people hooked to that video poker, and I knew that most of them were really, really either stressed out, and they were escaping, and that always stuck with me. Well, it's the same thing as going on with these phones. I mean, I do the same thing. I go Facebook, MMA Weekly, MMA, Tony Boy's website, MMA Mania, ESPN, Cubs.com. Man, I'll cycle throughout the day through those things a ridiculous amount of time. No matter where I'm at, it has become something that It's a habit. It's a habit. I've been brainwashed. There's this big conspiracy out with Facebook and some data international company about how they contaminated the election by Facebook. Well, the reality is we are being programmed. But you know who's programming it? Ourselves. Isn't it time that we just go back a little bit? Just a little bit. The ones that understand what I'm talking about. I mean, it didn't apply to me because I didn't have any parental guidance. But there was a time in this world that you could only watch TV from A to B. You could come home, do your homework, or go to sports, or do whatever, and you could only watch TV for a little bit. There was a time you could only go on your computer for a little bit. Now, it's these damn phones, and we're on them nonstop, and we're giving them to our kids, and we're communicating with our kids through tweets. We're communicating through we're talking to each other via. I do it. I did it this weekend. I thanked Jake Smith. Jake Smith is training up Lad. I think Jake likes to do it. I know Lad loves it. It's really good for his confidence. I know Jake takes it very seriously. Had Jake over for dinner, spent a couple hours with him. Could have walked outside and stopped that young man, because whether I like it or not, I'm 51 years old. Jake's in the prime of his life. He's gonna give me a little bit of respect for being double his age. And I could have stopped him. And I could have said, listen, young man, I want to thank you for this. And really told him face to face how much that meant to me, how much it means to me that he's training up Lad, that he's driving an hour and a half to do it. He's not charging me anything. He's just doing it because he's good, solid people, and he appreciates he appreciates me big brothering him a couple times. That I thanked him via a stupid tweet. So people I don't know, that I'll never meet before, can read this thing. And I never walked outside, and I never told him, hey man, thank you. I guarantee, even though we've lost the art of human interaction, I've never really been that good at it anyway. Haven't really tried that much, but I'm going to beat this. I'm going to beat this programming that I have allowed to happen to me, that my son sees it happening to me. He'll come down and play the UFC game. Oh, and by the way, Felice Herring, she's hot even as a video game chick. All right, so that'll come down, and I would just cycle on my phone for an hour and a half. I won't do anything. Backing it up to what Chael said is, he's like, I work on my, I got to do a lot of stuff on my phone, but not nearly as much time. I mean, he's in the same spot. We all are. We're all doing the same thing. We are being programmed by these phones. We are being programmed by our egos to think that the activity is more important than the time. The picture of Jake and Lad training together is more important than them actually doing that. No, it's not. It's not. I'll expand this point in a little bit, but the reality is I'm going to put my phone down. I'm going to shut my damn phone off when I'm driving. I'm going to turn the radio on Maybe I'll listen to a podcast. But I'm no longer going to be texting people and talking to people while I'm driving. I'm going to quit being on my phone when my son comes down. What will I do? Why don't I grab a pen and paper and start writing out ideas for a podcast? Instead of 10 minutes before, getting gacked up on coffee, writing some things down and hitting enter. You guys will have a better product. It's just true. Time goes so fast, man. Time goes so fast that we have to stop and smell the roses. I go to my sales job right now, and I like it. I work for a good company, and I'm doing something that I hate doing. Is sticking out the hard part. 9 out of 10 times when I get in a sales job, I light the thing on fire, and whoever I'm working for will just dump money in my face. That's you to keep me. That's usually what happens. Well, I'm working for the number one company in the field of sales that I'm in right now, and they have all sorts of swinging people doing great numbers. So I've got to go through the process. I've got to be humble, and I've got to take a little bit of time before that wheel is spitting out the money that it spits out. And I know this. I've been through it, but I'm getting through that part. So most of my time, I've got all sorts of free time. This is a really good job. Most of my time is either driving around or waiting. Now, I can do a lot of positive things with that time. I can go get a workout in. I can write. I can pod. I can do all sorts of things rather than, just playing on my phone. If I have 3 appointments in a day, let's say I haven't had 4 yet, but I'm sure I'll get to it. But let's just say 3. If I have 3 appointments in a day and I sell all 3 clients, maximum, I'm going to have 3.5 hours of actually work. And then the rest of it is driving or going home or whatever. So yesterday I only had 1 appointment. And when you have sales calls, when you do in-home sales, a lot of them are, you'll go on a run where you'll sell everybody something, and then you'll go on a run where you don't even have a client. You just have somebody that's really not interested in your product. Somebody begged them for me to show up, and they're just not interested. You can't do anything with that customer. But yesterday, after going on a bad run, I had a great customer. We were having a hoot. We were really, really enjoying talking about, he was a swimmer in college, and he went to a bunch of I was having a good time. I was having a good time talking to this guy. He ended up being a sale, and that was great. Well, I already had the sale, but I was really, truly enjoying myself. And I know he was too. And I was so busy I didn't have nothing to do. I had nothing to do for hours. I was so busy to get to doing nothing that I missed out on an opportunity to extend an enjoyment, having a good, positive human interaction, some laughs, telling stories. I was on my way home, and I started thinking about that. I was like, you know what? I should have stayed there longer. I should have stayed there longer. And it doesn't have to be that situation. But my point is when you're having a good time, when you're enjoying life for a minute, when you're laughing, stop. Stop and run it. Stop and stop. You could be 15 minutes late to do nothing. You can be 10 minutes. You don't have to continue move on through this life and miss the opportunities that will present themselves to you if you have an open mind. And I'm this is along the same lines of the thesis of this show today Get off those phones. Get off those phones. Lad is playing youth baseball, and the kids, he got cut from the freshman team. We talked about that, but I think this is his last year that he can compete. Yeah, I'm not sure about that, but anyway, he's in another league, and a lot of the kids in this league are a year younger than him. There's only 2 freshmen on his team. There's 11 kids, so there's 9 8th graders, and yesterday they were scrimmaging the other team. Well, Lad's played 6 years of baseball, so I've watched a lot of these other kids grow up, and you only see them, if you only see them in the spring and the fall, you only see them a couple times a year. It's pretty cool to watch other people's kids grow up. And yesterday there was a couple kids that I was pumped seeing them. I love seeing my nieces and nephews. I felt the same way. It is very interesting watching other people's kids grow up. I get a kick out of, when I do get to go see, when I do make the time to go a half a mile to Chael's house and see Thero and Priya's growing up. I enjoy that. It's amazing watching other people's kids grow up. It makes you feel good. You can't watch other people's kids grow up on your phone. I think the sneeze. I finally got it. God bless me. God bless me. That had to happen. You can't watch other people's kids grow up on your phone. You actually have to go out and do it. I watch other people watch their kids, and I realize, man, we're all in the same thing, man. We want the best for our kids. And the best for our kids are to take those damn phones out of their hands and put our phones down. That's what's best for our kids. Talk about 81 to 92, it was kind of a slogan and this, that, and the other. I didn't grow up in a structured environment, but a structured environment is what families need. Families need to sit around together and spend time together, do something together other than drive around and play on your phones. That human interaction, and it's never too late. It's never too late. I hope a lot of you. I'm right. This is one of those things where I'm 100% right. None of you that are in my exact same situation, who spend an inordinate amount of time on their phones, can say I'm wrong. You just can't. You do agree with me. So let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can do. And I'm going to start talking about it once a week. I'm going to give you an update. I'm going to have a journal, and I'm going to start writing in that thing. And I'm going to start creating things to do for me and my son. Creating dreams, creating whatever. Creating instead of watching. And that's what we're doing on the phone. We're just watching. The television programmed us for years to turn the television on. And now these phones have taken over. That's why the big TV companies are having a hard time. The story of the day, the Dave Saldana story of the day. I'm going to tell the story about kinking the scales. I had a good time yesterday talking about wrestling with Chael. The NCAA tournament was going on. Spent some time with Maddie Sprague last week. Seen Danny Russell a little bit ago. Wrestlers, when you wrestle with somebody for a few years, they're always your brother in some way or another. You know, even if you're not the closest friends in the world, but you went through the same things. You understand things a little bit differently. But last year, Daniel Cormier kinked the scale against Rumble. Flat kinked it. And I kinked the scale years and years and years ago. There was this tournament. They probably still have the tournament at Simon Fraser up in Canada. I think it's the Canadian Open. It's a big, big tournament. And I was wrestling 180, and I think he had like a pound allowance. You might have had two. It might have even been three. I mean, it was over Thanksgiving at the beginning of the year. It might have been 3 pounds. I'm going to say it was 3 pounds. And I was probably weighing. I was in really good shape. I was probably weighing $198, $196. So, all right, it wasn't a crazy pull to get to that weight, but it was a good pull to get from $196 to $180. I was put together at 196 pounds. There wasn't a lot of meat on the bones. I mean, I was put together at 196 pounds. But so not only did they let you weigh in at home and then travel to the tournament, is your coach could weigh you in, they could certify the weight, then you had a whole nother day, which was Thanksgiving, and then you drive up to the tournament, and the tournament started on Saturday. So you had to be up there to register by Friday. So I'm cutting the weight, and man, it just dawns on me that the only people wrestling in the tournament are from down here are me, Craig Morris, and Matt Lindland. And I'm going to Matt Lindland's house for Thanksgiving. It's just an eat-a-thon. It's just incredible. And I'm probably $188. You know, I'm probably $188. I've got plenty of time to make this weight. I'm like, man, if I just grab this penny and turn this scale, he's not going to check it. My coach isn't going to check. If I go into that sauna and, you know, I pitch a fit, and I don't pitch a fit, but I draw myself out and I look like I've been sucking weight it's the day before Thanksgiving. Coach isn't even going to the tournament. I bet I can get away with it. I was probably $187. Oh God. I mean, this is embarrassing. So I don't want to make it more embarrassing than it is, and I don't want to make it less embarrassing than it is. I might have been as high as 188. I know I was. Oh God, I know I was up under $190. I know I wanted a kinked 7 pounds. God, I might have. Oh God. Anyway, so I kinked the scale. Let's call it a smooth 6. I hope to God it was. I hope I was at least under. I mean, it doesn't matter. Kinking the scale's kinking the scale. And I had plenty of time. Everybody, the other guys were on weight, and you know they didn't know where I was at. So anyway, I turned the scale, and I got it, and you know Jim Jackson came out, which was, you know, Jim Jackson, a teetotaler. He must have had something on his mind for him not to check, and so Jim Jackson, he certified the weight, and boom, I'm in. Let's say I'm $189. I go to Lindland's house for a whole day of Thanksgiving where you eat breakfast, a huge breakfast, then you eat a snack in between lunch, which is another spread. There's another snack, then there's a huge dinner, and then there's a bunco game at night. Okay, if I wasn't 202 pounds when I got to that tournament, I was at least 202. It's a big tournament. I feel pretty bad about this all the way up because Craig made weight, Matt made weight. They don't know I kinked the scale. Wasn't until it wasn't until years later I ever told anybody because, I mean, kinking the scale. I mean, kinking the scale by 6 pounds? Oh, God. So I go up there and I got a tough draw. I've got a member of the Canadian Greco-Roman wrestling team, but I'm an upper body guy. Plus, it's Canada. I'm like, man, how good can he be? You know, it's Canada. I got him in the first round, and he beats me. He doesn't drub me, but he beats me, 8-6. I mean, tight match, but he had the match from start to finish, and it was one of those matches where a lot of times if you've never wrestled a guy and you've never heard of a guy before, you can look at him. You can look at him and say, "Oh, I'll beat this guy's ass." You know, I got this, and that was one of those cases. Plus I'm 2 bills. The fighters cut a ridiculous amount of weight now, but I didn't even cut the weight. I didn't even cut the weight. I cut 6 pounds. I cut 6.5 pounds. I'm 202. I've got all the energy in the world. I'm bigger than a house. And so this, I tie up with this guy. He scores. He gets ahead. And as the match goes, I'm like, God, I'm going to lose to this guy. I'm going to be in the wrestlebacks right now, today. And freestyle wrestling, I don't know how it works now. I think they do straight brackets now. Back then, you just wrestled people on your side. Well, done in 2 is done in 2. You lose 2 matches, there's not another tournament on the planet once you get out of high school that you can continue to wrestle in. Anyway, so this guy beats me, and I got Justin Abdu the second round. Now, Justin Abdu was a killer. He was a killer. He was I think he made the Canadian Freestyle Olympic team a couple times. I think he was a professional. He's a killer. And me and him would fight. I mean, we would have a full-on fight every time that we wrestled. I got him second round. He beats me. I mean, he beats me, 3-2 or 2-1. I mean, it was what they always were. It was a fist fight without throwing hands. I mean, it was, I clubbed him, he clubbed me. I pushed him off the mat, he pushed me. I mean, it was just, it was a tough match. Anyway, I'm through in 2. The only time in my wrestling career after I won my first match, okay, took a while for me to win my very first match in high school, but once I did, it was all of these years later in a tournament in Canada that I'd lost my first 2 matches, and by 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I was out. I was out of the tournament. Well, that sucks for a variety of reasons. You lose. I've never been that guy. I don't know what it felt like to be done at 1 o'clock. I mean, what do you do? And well, Craig Morris has the tournament of his life. He's wrestling Sunday night for 3rd, 4th. Matt gets to the Sunday. I don't think Matt placed. He may have. But he won 5 or 6 matches not placing. I think he did place. But anyway, I was done. I was embarrassed. And I should have. That is the exact thing that should have happened to me. And you hear me bitch and complain about the fighters not making weight. And then you're like, Joel, you didn't make weight. You kinked the scale. Yeah, I did. I paid for it. That was embarrassing. Karma got me right away. But had there been $500 or two, I'm rationalizing, but my point is I was an amateur wrestler. Professional fighters for $500 to $5,000 to $50,000. You go make your goddamn weight. Go make your weight. You see how I turn it around? This is my embarrassing thing, and I put it back on somebody else. I don't want to do that. I just want to finish up the story. I kinked the scale. The Godfather kinked the scale, and karma got me. I was through in 2, baby. Deuces.